Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Welcome to the Thursday night edition of the program. We are live and national, 7 minutes past the top of the hour, and I want to invite you to our late night national town hall conversation, Open Phone America. If you want to weigh in, feel free. Here's the number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES. Now, a bunch of things I want to get into. I am of two minds, mixed emotions today. Like many Americans, I am nostalgic because of 9/11. I'm a New Yorker. Because of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I'm saddened. Because of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I'm angered. And many of us are trying to figure out what is it that we stand on, right? There's a tweet going around from Charlie Kirk saying you can tell a lot about a person, about how they react when someone dies. And I think that's true. I think that's a true statement. And I don't want to sound holier than thou, right? I'm pretty sure when Barack Obama walked down that red carpet in the White House and said, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Americans, we've just completed a mission and assassinated Osama bin Laden, or something to that effect, right? I'm pretty sure I was overcome with a sense of patriotism and glee and joy, and I was happy that this man had met his maker. And if that's wrong, then, God forgive me. But this was a man that was responsible for, not only the terrorist activity that he'd conducted over the years, but being the mastermind of 9/11, right? This is what we were told. And I was happy. I'm pretty sure I was very happy when I heard that. In much the same way, there are people in our country, our fellow Americans, or as the great one would call them, American Marxists, that don't believe what we believe, right? I tend to call them the godless left because by choice, many of them choose to be agnostic at best and atheistic at worst, or maybe even satanic at worst. And these differences are things that we're becoming accustomed to. Just like the left argues, when the founders made the Constitution, they were talking about muskets. When the founders made the Constitution, they were also talking about people following Jesus. And many of them alluded to this, saying that, it's required to have this virtuous populace, right? We need to be a virtuous people in order for the constitutional system that we've implemented in our republic to work. And we see that dissipating on a daily basis. Now, I'll take it back 6 days ago, right? Last Friday. Last Friday, we started to see, but it seems like from last Friday on, there was a series of events. Women getting killed, young women getting killed, all sorts of things related to crime. Because crime is whether the FBI statistics or the NYPD statistics or the Washington Metro PD statistics match up with it or not. If you have eyes and you have a social media account and you can see what people have to say, you're seeing more of this. Now, yes, some could say that's an algorithm. Some could say that is the Russian troll farms making sure they're cranking out more videos to create more division amongst the people, and that very well may be. Right? A lot of people are beside themselves today in similar fashion, saying, how could these people be so upset with the death of Charlie Kirk? How could they be celebrating this? And of course, that's disgusting. But I always like to ask myself, how real are these things? Are these people doing these things to gain attention with their own following? Are they doing this for real? Are these genuine videos? Or are these people shills? Are they doing this because they're trying to advance an agenda? They're trying to create a chasm. They're trying to create division, which is whose MO? The Marxist MO. So it makes sense to me that if you can get people to feel slighted for long enough and then keep feeding them ammo to stay slighted, they're going to rely on the passions of their flesh in their response, which is not what I've been called to do, right? I mean, I'd love to, right? Many of us would love to. We'd all love to get angry and, play bumper cars with the guy that cuts us off on the road, but we don't do that. Why? Is it because we're afraid of the consequence or because we know better? Is it because we're afraid of hurting someone or because we don't want to hurt someone? And these are legitimate questions, right? I think for many of us, and I am going to say many, I believe the majority of us on every side of the aisle, I think most people don't want to hurt other people. But I believe there's a fringe. And the fringe is just that, like a rope that gets frayed at the end. There's a middle, there's an end. There's different sides to it. But there's a fringe on both sides. And on one side of that fringe, you've got people like me that'll see a video of, somebody back-talking a cop or going for a gun in a traffic stop. And, guys like me will be screaming, fool around to find out, FAFO. And I mean it in that sense. But there's others that are like, screaming FAFO, and they're like chomping at the bit for that civil war. They're hoping. Give me a reason. Give me a reason. And this exists in every place, right? There are people that gravitate that way. So today, I say, it's a day of reflection. It's 9/11. You look back at what happened in New York City 24 years ago. We don't want to be pansies, but we have to make a choice. Who are we? What do we stand for? What do we stand up for? What do we stand against? Are we the other side of that rope? Are we the fringe on the other side? Or are we not like them? That's the question I'm asking myself today. I can't be surprised much longer that the left is celebrating this and doing that because I know how the left operates. I can't be surprised that there are people still years later, right? 9/11. Oh, this is who's the usual suspects? Blame the Jews, right? Blame the Jews. Inside job, deep state, this and that. I've been hearing this stuff for decades now, and now we're doing it with Charlie Kirk. So for me, I choose to bury my head in the sand, right? I'm saying no. Listen, I'm going to respect his life and his legacy. I'm going to keep him in my prayers. And pray that this gets done the right way. There's new information from the FBI saying they have this sketch of this, not the sketch, but the video camera image of this guy. They think they've seen him on a traffic or a home, like a Ring camera. TMZ just put some video out of that. The guy's walking around with a limp. They suspect that the limp is because there is a rifle down his leg. The rifle's been recovered. Things are starting to fall into position, but I can tell you from some of my perusal online today, man, the theories abound, from the Mossad to this to that, and all of it is honestly useless. It's useless because it doesn't do anything to promote the cause that he believed in, and it doesn't do anything to promote the cause that we believe in. Anyway, I also got to talk to you about WebRoot. Right, WebRoot has this product that I've chosen to use because it's called the Total Protection Product. And after hearing about this just a few days ago, this major credit card reporting agencies having a data breach affecting 4 million people, I said, you know what? I need some peace of mind. And I even asked the guest that we had on about that. And he said, yeah, if you can afford one of those, get one of those. The next day, we got one. So WebRoot Total Protection is an all-in-one device, privacy, and identity protection that can help you keep everything safe, even your personal data when it's compromised. WebRoot Total Protection allows identity protection for up to 10 entities, up to $1 million for those 10 identities. And this $1 million is covering fraud expense in reimbursement. You got 24/7 U.S.-based customer support and an elder fraud hotline. You even got identity and web monitoring for when your information appears on the dark web. So that's why I like WebRoot. And plus, it has antivirus protection, VPN, cloud backup, and you could use it for your whole family. So that gives me a better digital life, gives my family a better digital life. And in the wake of these data breaches and all the crazy that we're seeing and all the things that we hear online, I couldn't help but make a move on this. So I recommend you do it too. You're going to get 50% off of the WebRoot Total Protection package, or you can go with the WebRoot Essentials package. You can compare them. Just go to webroot.com, webroot.com. Use my name, Rich Valdes, and you're going to get 50% off WebRoot Total Protection or the WebRoot Essentials package when you go to webroot.com/Rich Valdes.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Just from the places where the airplanes crashed in, the unbelievable situation for those workers who are above the 80th floors, because the last time we had a blast, which was below in the parking lot of B2, there was a 1,500-pound explosion that knocked out all the electricity, knocked out the elevators, made it almost impossible to escape that situation. Luckily, most did. But this is even more devastating to those who might potentially be trapped above.
That is the voice of a young Curtis Sliwa, a radio broadcaster in New York City on WABC Radio on September 11th, 2001, as he was hosting the morning show. Basically calling the play-by-play as this plane hit the first tower, the second plane hits the next tower, and all of this begins to unfold. And he was doing it all in real time. Of course, this is the same Curtis Sliwa that is now, 24 years later, running for mayor of the city of New York. And we're going to talk about the mayor's race in the next segment. But I want to talk about 9/11, what that morning was like for him, because nearly a quarter century has passed since the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. And for many people, these emotions for this day remain as raw as they ever have. So with today being the 24th anniversary of the deadly attacks and, of course, the very solemn ceremonies and commemorations that you see in New York City and the Pentagon and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, I wanted to get the take of Curtis Sliwa to remember the nearly 3,000 people killed and just what it was like being on the radio that morning. Curtis Sliwa, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich Valdes. A solemn occasion today, but not necessarily around the rest of the country. I was checking in with different parts of the country where this acknowledgement, recognition, commemoration, memorial is beginning to fade more and more and more out of sight, out of mind. I must tell you, Rich, very disappointing. That's one of the reasons I'm running for mayor, is that the curriculum in the public schools has no mention of 9/11 and what had occurred in the city of New York. So these young children who were not alive at the time have very little working knowledge of what was the worst attack in the history of America. Prior to that, Pearl Harbor, which was drilled into me, December 7th, there'd be a week of commemorations in school. We'd have veterans come in, give us special presentations in the assembly hall. And it was drilled into us, Rich, that you had to vote. You had to vote. These men died in order to guarantee that we would have a right to make our decisions at the ballot box. And I got to tell you, when I was a kid, upwards of 80% of the registered voters would vote in a mayor's election, which is unheard of now. Unheard of now. Oh, we're lucky if we get 25%. And I think a lot of that is attributed to the fact of what you teach your children about their history, the good times, but also the bad times, like the attack in 9/11. At that time, I was a morning show host with Ron Kuby, who I call Ron Kuby, whose mommy is a commie. Now, he had been known to represent, along with his mentor, William Kunstler, most of the terrorists who were charged with the attack of the first World Trade Center attack in 1993, led by a guy named Ramzi Youssef.
Yeah, the blind
and the
sheikh.
The spiritual advisor was Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman, the blind-eyed Santa Claus hat-wearing Imam of hate. And when Ramzi Youssef was finally caught, the FBI flew him over the World Trade Center site, the two towers. The idea in the first attack was to implode one tower and it would crash into the other tower. It did not work. But they asked him, why did you pick the World Trade Center? And he said, well, that's where we figured the most number of Jews were in one situation that we could kill as many Jews as possible. And the Feds should have realized that they weren't going to give up. You know, their whole goal was try again. And as you know, the next one was Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden on 9/11.
Curtis Sliwa, being on the airwaves that morning, and we've got about 90 seconds till we got to take a pause, but what was it like? I mean, obviously in your career, and as well as in mine, is moments where you get to do a broadcast where you're calling the play-by-play on live things as they're happening. But that one was really historic, right? We've never seen, at least in my lifetime, I've not seen anything before that or since then that was of that magnitude. And I remember listening. I was listening to WABC because I was watching WPIX Channel 11, and the TVs went out because those antennas were on top of the World Trade Center. And the only thing that you could listen to was WABC radio. So I remember hearing a lot of analysis, a lot of voices. But what was it like being in the studio that morning?
Extraordinarily difficult. There were no commercials. You just had to keep talking nonstop and repeating any information that came your way. A lot of it was bogus information because we didn't have an internet at that time. It's not like you could refer to an internet site. It was really nothing. And cell phone communication had gone down too, also when the towers had imploded. So no TV, no cell telephones. And basically, you were operating on a lot of rumor and innuendo. I mean, there were talks about attacks in Washington, D.C., car bombs that had gone off. We did our best that we could with our resources, with national news networks, to try to prove for our listeners if it was true or false. But, oh, boy, it really started off a conspiratorial chain that, unfortunately, to this day, in some instances, hasn't been resolved.
Yeah. Curtis Sliwa, stick with me. We're going to come back. We're going to continue our discussion on 9/11. I also want to get your take on the mayoral campaign in New York City. Plus, you've been shot 5 times with hollow point bullets, and yesterday's violence is sadly nothing new for you. We're coming right back with Curtis Sliwa. I'm Rich Valdes.
The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
That terrible morning 24 years ago, time itself stood still. The laughter of school children fell silent. The rush of our traffic came to an absolute halt. And for 2,977 innocent souls and their families, the entire world came crashing down so suddenly. In the quarter of a century since those acts of mass murder, 9/11 family members have felt the weight of missed birthdays and empty bedrooms, journals left unfinished, and dreams left unfulfilled. To every member that still feels a void every day of your lives, the First Lady and I unite with you in sorrow. And today, as one nation, we renew our sacred vow that we will never forget September 11th, 2001.
You're listening to Donaldus Magnus, El Trompito, the 45th and 47th President of these United States, commemorating what happened on 9/11 24 years ago this morning at the Pentagon. And I want to get some reaction to that and continue our conversation on 9/11 with Curtis Sliwa, who was broadcasting live on the air on the only station that remained on the air when the TV stations went down. It was WABC Radio 77. And many people were listening to that because it was the only game in town. Curtis Sliwa, welcome back. And I want to get a sense of what the vibe is like today in New York City. I remember people celebrating with glee in Yankee Stadium, interfaith ball game and prayer service, and Rudy Giuliani throwing out the ball. And I don't know if that's the case anymore. Curtis Sliwa. All right. We don't have Curtis Sliwa.
Got it.
No, we do got Curtis Sliwa. Go ahead.
Of course. Had to take a SOS call on the campaign line. I said, hey, got to park that in the Bronx right now. I'm talking across the nation to Rich Valdes.
You know who else is parked in the Bronx? El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus. Is it President Trump calling you? Is he trying to cut a deal? Is he trying to push Adams out of the race?
No, he said 10 days, and both of you must drop out. And I think you know what my response is, Rich. I'm the only Republican candidate with Republican values, law and order values. I am not dropping out against Zoran Mandami and Zoran Light, Andrew Cuomo, and Eric Adams. All three are Democrats. So the president knows he can't influence me or motivate others to encourage me to leave. So I think he's just focused on Eric Adams. And I got to tell you, I get vertigo every day from one day to the next. Maybe he's out the door. He's looking for a better deal. I think he's writing his own book, The Eric Adams Art of the Deal.
You think he's trying to work the president for a sweeter deal?
Yeah, I think he's trying to game President Donald Trump and the Trump White House, because it was a done deal last Friday. It was a done deal. He was going to become the ambassador to Saudi Arabia. Now, if I were Trump, I would have offered him the ambassadorial position to Turkey, his favorite country, where he took so much money from Erdogan that it eventually led to him being indicted. But the last second, he reneged. And now, every other day he's talking about maybe I'll drop out, maybe I won't, if the price is right. I mean, this guy, no wonder why this city is in such a mess. This guy can't, from one day to the next, figure out if he wants to stay or if he wants to go.
Well, Curtis Sliwa, NBC News is reporting that there were some closed-door meetings with Eric Adams and that he again is signaling that he may leave. I want you to hear this report, and more than anything, I want the audience to hear it. Check this out.
Questions swirl about whether Mayor Adams will drop out of the race. We may have new insight into his thinking. News 4's government affairs reporter Melissa Russo has new details tonight about a closed-door roundtable with community leaders. 3 people who are in the room say Mayor Adams implied he might consider dropping out if it was best for the city.
When asked about this, the mayor's campaign told me that Adams has not made a decision to drop out, but that he does plan to conduct his own poll to make a decision. According to 3 people inside that meeting of the Association for a Better New York Steering Committee today, the mayor said he would continue to watch polls. They say Adams implied if his poll numbers do not move, he'd put the best interests of the city first, saying he loves the city more than he dislikes Cuomo.
Well, listen, I love the city more than I dislike Cuomo as well, but I don't think I'm going to make a move for Cuomo. Curtis Sliwa, what do you make of this?
Well, isn't that interesting? He's going to conduct his own poll. Now, Rich, he already knows what the results are going to be. So, again, this is a form of technology. I'm going to commission my own poll to tell me whether I should stay or whether I should go. I think he likes the drama. This is like a novella. It forces people to pay attention to him. And every day that there's discussion about dropping out or polls is a great day for Zohran Mamdani, because then he doesn't have to talk about the issues. He can focus on letting the candidates talk about dropping out. Now, I'm the only consistent candidate. I've said 1,000 times no, I'm not dropping out. You can give me $1 billion. You can offer me to move to the White House with a very prestigious post and position. I'm just not doing it. I'm looking to become the mayor of the city of New York to get us back on track, because it's like a 1-2 punch, Rich Valdes, just like when Rudy Giuliani won and got this city back on track in 1992. It was quickly followed by a victory by a guy that nobody knew, George Pataki. I was with him tonight, the former governor, as he has his own commemoration for 9/11, because it was he and Rudy who came together and really became the structure of what the country was doing while we were looking for Bush 43 and looking for Dick Cheney, because they were being hidden, fearing more attacks. And I got to tell you, we were never better. With Rudy and Pataki, mayor and governor, we had no corruption, we had no chaos, and crime began to descend. Now we have a real chance. People can elect me on November 4th, a Republican mayor, and then next year, the star of Congress, the best inquisitor ever on the Hill, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik from upstate New York, will take on Kathy Hochul. She'll beat her like George Pataki beat Mario Cuomo. And now we get both the state of New York back on track and the city back on track. It's through Republican leadership. The Democrats had their chance, Rich Valdes, and they progressively, in their desire to move left, have destroyed first the state, which Andrew Cuomo did as governor, and then fled fearing impeachment with his no cash bail. Eric Adams, who was a failed mayor, and all of that led to Zohran Mamdani, who a year ago, the only people who knew who Zohran Mamdani were his neighbors.
Yeah, he is the Frankenstein that they created. Curtis Sliwa, let me ask you a question. There's a lot of critics out there that have two main criticisms. One is they're saying, look, Republicans need to suck this up, because the longer that New York is in bad shape, the better and easier it's going to be to elect Elise Stefanik next year. But my thinking is, wouldn't it be better to say, hey, look, we just got a Republican mayor, now we're going to get a Republican governor, building on successes? What do you say to those critics?
Absolutely, because if Zohran Mamdani becomes the next mayor, the socialists will really be flexing. They'll say, why should we just stop with New York? We can take over every urban area north of the Mason-Dixon line. And then the country really becomes a separated country. Red states, red cities, south of the Mason-Dixon line. Blue states, blue cities, north of the Mason-Dixon line. We can't allow that. That's why my whole campaign is improve, don't move. I win, I will create the conditions where people will not want to flee. Because, Rich, those people living in red states listening to your national program right now, they don't want New York just coming down to their state, because what was red might become purple, might become blue.
That's a fact. Now, Curtis, what do you say to, again, the critics that are looking at Eric Adams on life support, 8%, 7%, 9%? They're looking at him gasping for air, royally destroying the city over the last 4 years. And they're saying, well, I'd rather have Adams than Mamdani. What do you say to the people that are saying, Curtis doesn't have a shot? He just doesn't have a shot. But somehow the other three clowns that have policies that mirror each other, somehow they have a shot.
Yeah, well, somehow people have drank the Kool-Aid and only Democrats can win, whether they are Bill de Blasio on steroids, because that's what Zohran Mamdani is, or they're Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo, that's Zohran Light. They agree on more things than they disagree. The only person in this campaign who is inalienably opposed to many of the measures, therefore, like they want to give illegal aliens the right to vote. I'm opposed. They believe in the sanctuary city. I'm opposed. We can go right on down the line. They want to release criminals from jail. They love no cash bail. I'm opposed to all of that. So why would you tell the one person who's the law and order candidate, who's the candidate of common sense, who can get the city back on track, who's Rudy Giuliani 2.0, why would you tell him to drop out and leave it to these three? Come on. Democracy is about choice. And I'm the only other candidate that gives a voter an opportunity to go in a different direction. Choosing any of those three is a continued descent into the abyss, into the belly of the beast, and total destruction for New York City.
Well put. Curtis Sliwa, 90 seconds. You were shot 5 times with hollow point bullets in your abdomen. You were nearly dead. You made it back. And yesterday we saw similar violence. One shot took out an amazing patriot, Charlie Kirk, and America's mourning, right? We're mourning the loss of an intellectual leader, of an amazing organizer. And I just want to get your reaction to that, because I feel like we're hitting a fever pitch.
Well, it's also not only the loss of Charlie Kirk, but the loss of free speech. Acts of violence like this are meant to intimidate people. As we saw, Charlie Kirk would go on a national tour to colleges, and he would debate an adversary, well-known adversaries, his peers. It's not like he would just beat somebody up, just to have somebody on the stage with him. And this engaged young people, because then it would hear Charlie Kirk, his opinion, and he would have a well-qualified adversary to give the liberal or the progressive opinion, and the entire body of the university or the college would benefit from hearing 2 points of view so that they can come to their own conclusion. That's what America is all about. That's what a town hall meeting is all about. But democracy died yesterday for the one day when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. They tried to assassinate me because I would regularly attack Italian organized crime on the most powerful radio station in the nation in the mornings when I was hosting Morning Drive at WABC. They shot me 5 times with hollow point bullets, and they thought maybe I learned my lesson since I was lucky not to die. I took that licking and kept on ticking. And I got to tell you, that's why we all have to engage in free speech, practice it, make sure people know that nobody being hurt as a result of it or in this tragedy being killed is going to prevent the main thing that makes us so much different than the rest of the countries around the world, free speech, to be eliminated.
Curtis, the website is sliwafornyc.com, SLIWAFORNYC.com, sliwafornyc.com. If you want to see a difference in New York City and you want to keep the crazies here in New York and not in your part of the beautiful country we live in, make sure you send them a donation, send them your support, do what you can to help. Curtis, Godspeed to you, brother. Talk soon.
Appreciate the tactical air support, and let's all come together to keep free speech and democracy alive.
Amen. Amigos, coming right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S.
I want to say thank you for what you do. You people speak the truth.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdes going to the phones, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES. And I want to get your thoughts on 9/11, the anniversary, 24th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. And you guys have heard my story many times. I had this weird premonition that day, and I said, I'm not going to work today. I just kept watching the news. I was lollygagging. My wife, at the time I was married, she said, hey, you're going to be late. And I was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I don't know, something in my gut, and I had a pretty big gut at the time, told me, don't go, or, don't go yet. And then when that second plane hit, I said, I'm definitely not going now. I was always a little hyperbolic. I looked at that. I said, it's got to be the terrorists. I guess I ended up being right. But very, very interesting times to be alive. From my bedroom window, I could see the top of the Twin Towers. And when they went down on TV, and then shortly after the TV stopped working, I remember looking at the window, and I was in awe that where I could see those towers every day, looking out my window, was just a cloud of smoke. It was so bizarre because clearly on TV there was a slight delay, so they had gone down probably about a minute or 30 seconds earlier. And I thought I was going to see them falling in real time, and they were gone. And it was just, wow, so surreal. Paul, Boise, Idaho, streaming the show tonight, richvaldes.com. Go right ahead, sir.
Yes, thanks for taking my call, Rich.
Yes, sir.
Just, you don't hear too much about this, but the Pentagon, I've got 4 sisters, and the second oldest lived about 500 yards above where the plane crashed into the Pentagon. She said it hit so hard that it shook the whole house, and she thought it was going to fall around her. But you don't hear too much about that one. The other thing is, it was curiosity for me. I was, we're removed out here from Idaho. We don't have much to do with what's going on in the big cities. But it was my experience that I wanted to know how many people were filling the rooms for their recovery that day when the planes did hit, and what they were doing instead of hitting a bottle or the pipe or whatever it was they were into. And I was very pleasantly surprised to hear that it was standing room only in 99% of all the rooms in New York City for their recovery. And it made my heart jump a little bit, just because, you never know when that one little twinge is going to take over and it's gone. You know what I mean?
I can only imagine. That's encouraging news to hear that people are responding well, following 9/11, because it was definitely a difficult time, just to say the least. People were fighting in the streets. People were freaking out, and very, very scary time. Paul, I thank you for your thoughts on that, and I'm glad that you noticed that uptick, because you need to find some good in this. I mean, here we are 24 years later, and it's still such a somber and solemn day. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Amigos, we're going to get to the rest of your calls and so much more when we return. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, amigos, welcome back. We're going to join a press conference between the State Bureau of Investigation in Utah. Tyler Cotter is the head of that, as well as Kash Patel, director of the FBI.
Enabling us to continue to further this investigation. We've had great cooperation from the public, and we're continuing to ask for that as we move forward. Thank you, and I'll turn the time back over to Governor Cox.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mason. I want to thank Director Patel and his team. It's great to have them on the ground with us tonight. We've had several briefings, and he's had an opportunity to walk the crime scene. We appreciate our local law enforcement here. Again, we have Mike Smith, who is the county sheriff here. We have all of our local chiefs of police that are here as well, all working hand in hand with the state and with the FBI as we move forward with this investigation. Now, I'll just give you a little warning. We will not be taking any questions at this time. We're giving you the latest information we have, being as transparent with everything that we have. But I do want to share a couple things that I think are important. We cannot do our job without the public's help right now. The public has answered our call for action. So far, we've received more than 7,000 leads and tips. I would just note that the FBI hasn't received this many digital media tips from the public since the Boston Marathon bombing. This case also...
The speed on this is, again, breaking news. This press conference going on right now. We'll keep that monitored while we take our pause, and we'll come back and give you some additional information on what's going on with the FBI press conference in Utah. All right, amigos, you know what to do. Keep it locked right here. Don't move a muscle. I'm Rich Valdes.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Welcome to the Thursday night edition of the program. It's 9/11, the 24th anniversary. We are live and national for another hour, and I'm happy to be here with you. Here's the phone number if you want to join us on our late night national town hall conversation. Give me a call, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES. And, of course, commemorating the 24th anniversary of 9/11, the 9/11 terror attack on New York City, on Shanksville, Pennsylvania, on the Pentagon, and lots of mixed emotions, lots of people remembering that. And I myself, I worked for a telecom company at that time, and I'll tell you this. So, interesting thing. I don't know what to call it, premonition, you can call it whatever you want, lazy, but I was getting ready for work, ready to go. I used to catch my bus at a certain time to get to the city right on time, and I decided to slow walk things, and my then wife was telling me, you need to hurry up, you're going to be late, and I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I just didn't want to go. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have a bad feeling. I just had a feeling of don't go. And lo and behold, I kept watching the news, and next thing you know, she's like, you're going to be late because some little plane just hit one of the World Trade Center towers. And I said, oh, boy. And I thought it was a kind of like a charter plane. Earlier that year, matter of fact, like a month earlier, I think it was in August of 2001, my grandfather came to visit from Puerto Rico. And around that time, I had gone for a helicopter tour, and the helicopter pilots were ballsy. They would do these little pirouettes and turn the helicopter kind of sideways in between the Twin Towers during the twilight tour. It was really cool. And I thought, oh, maybe somebody was trying to do one of these little pirouettes and messed it up. But I don't know that that was the case. I just saw that there was a plane, and it looked like a relatively small hole in a very large building. So we all assumed it was a small plane. A little bit more time goes on, and of course we find out it's not. And I'm watching, Fox 5, then WPIX. I'm switching between all the morning show channels in New York City. And then, all of a sudden, another plane hits. And that's when I say, all right, this is not this is not an accident. This is on purpose. And when they started saying that they're commercial jetliners, I immediately just thought about what I'd grown up hearing about TWA, right? TWA was constantly getting hijacked by the Iranians, and I thought to myself, this might be the terrorists, because, that's how my brain is wired. And I guess I was 20, whatever it is, 24 years ago, I was 23. And I didn't end up going to work. I was like, oh, I'm not going now. And it was almost like I was waiting for that reason to not go. I didn't have a bad feeling. I just had a feeling of don't take action. Just wait. And I did just wait. And I guess it turned out, to be to my benefit. Anyway, I had a client. One of the accounts that I serviced for the telecom company I worked for was at the World Trade, and I was going to be going down there that day. I likely wasn't going to get there because, I would have gotten there after all of this had happened, and the subways were shut down. The whole city was shut down. People, took many people a day or two to get home. Some people were stuck. They had bridges shut down. It was really quite an ordeal. But that was my story 24 years ago. I want to hear your stories as well throughout this evening. And I also want to give you an update. Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, along with the commissioner of the Utah State Bureau of Investigation and others, their chief, had a press conference about 7 or 8, maybe 9 minutes ago, and I have a clip of some of what they were discussing. Listen to this.
Our team, the state team, and I'm sure the federal team as well, what we're seeing is our adversaries want violence. China, we have bots from Russia, China, all over the world that are trying to instill disinformation and encourage violence. I would encourage you to ignore those, to turn off those streams, and to spend a little more time with our families. We desperately need some healing. We'll have more to say about that in the days and weeks weeks to come. More than anything, we are going to catch this person. Last thing I will just say is we've been working with our attorneys, getting everything that we need, affidavits ready, so that we can pursue the death penalty in this case, and that will happen here in the state of Utah. Again, to the public, to those who are grieving, thank you for your prayers. I know we are feeling those prayers. I know the Kirk family is feeling those prayers as well. We pray that God will bless our nation at this very dark time. We can start healing by finding this perpetrator and holding him accountable, and we need your help to do that. Thank you.
You know, those are wise words, and I know many of us feel, many of us are pissed off, many of us are emotional, many of us are hurt. The 9/11 stuff doesn't add to it, and many of us were already feeling that way, at least I was, with Dakara Thompson's death and Irina Zutowska's death, and it's a lot, right? I feel like it's a lot of death in the last few days, senseless death, innocent death, not collateral damage from war, not the type of thing that feels distant. This is the type of thing that feels close, at least for me, and that stuff wears on you, no question. And I want to say that clip that we played, it started with the commissioner there saying, Charlie Kirk said it best, that in times like this of uncertainty, sometimes it's best to put down your phone and, reconnect with God, be with your family, take a breather. And I think that's good advice. And the reason I think it's good advice is because I was reading comments, and I get into the comments. I don't answer, but I read a lot of the comments on some of these posts, and I have a lot of people that are like backup producers of this program that send me stuff all day long from all over the place. And I'm grateful to all of them. And several hours ago, earlier this afternoon, the stuff that the FBI was just talking about, I'd seen that information earlier today on Twitter. Things leak and it gets around. Anything that happens in life happens on Twitter a couple hours before it happened in real life. Just saying. And I saw the image of the guy that they were looking for when they said that they released an image of a person of interest. And shortly after that, all of the internet sleuths on Twitter and everywhere else had already found a picture of this guy or someone that looked just like that guy, dressed in drag or dressed as a trans individual. Then there were already reports that the gun that they found had trans inscriptions on it and whatever and whatnot. And right away, this goes one of two ways. Oh, wow, I can't believe that. Or, oh, wow, I don't believe that. And immediately it starts. Oh, no, it's everybody's favorite bad guy lately, the Jews, right? Everybody, I don't know why, everybody loves to blame the Jews for everything. And they start, they got Hollywood, they got the banks, they got this, they've got the Mossad, they're doing this, it's their fault. With zero proof, right? With zero proof, because Charlie Kirk said something about the Epstein list. I'm not going down that road because I think it's A, useless, and B, I don't even think it's legitimate. But I say that to say, this is what the enemy always wants for us, to be bickering at each other's throats, to lose faith in whatever institutions that we're supposed to have faith in. And listen, I'm skeptical like everybody else. I don't like my government. I want my government to be reduced by at least half. I would love that. I realize that they lie. I realize that, I've never had the expectation that they were here to tell me the truth. I never did. So maybe that's, my own problem. But I will say that I know that the bad guys, they want us to not believe everything. The minute that they can keep you in a place of incredulity, in a place of disbelief, in a place where you no longer have any belief, you don't trust Kash Patel, you don't trust the media, you don't trust this, you don't trust that. Eventually, you back yourself into a corner where the only thing you trust is yourself or anything that sounds like your thoughts online. Right? So whatever theory you come up with in your head, if you read it, somebody go, yep, that's it. This guy's on the money. This guy knows what he's talking about. And you start doing a little slow clap. Yep, very good. This guy's a patriot. And you'll send that to 3 of your friends, and 3 of your friends will think you're nuts. And that's how it starts. And again, I understand for many, they say the other side of that coin is, we're just going to buy the narrative. We're going to listen to what the legacy media or our government tells us. Are we sheep? Are we that dumb? Are we that thick? No, I say we use discernment. I say we look at this. Again, what is the outcome here? Someone was brutally murdered. Now they're looking for a murderer. If you believe that that's a pansy, a fall guy, that's on you. I want to believe that the Kirk family is going to get justice. I want to believe that Turning Point USA is going to get justice. I want to believe that conservatives and MAGA all across this country are going to see justice being done. I want to believe in our establishment. I want to believe in President Trump. I want to believe in Kash Patel. I don't want to disbelieve them. I don't want to lose trust for certain institutions that I've already distrusted. Because then where does that leave me? Leaves me in a place where I go, oh, it doesn't really matter what happens. I become apathetic. Then I just say, it doesn't matter. I don't believe them. Who knows? Who knows? Once you go down the rabbit hole of who knows, then you start saying body doubles, makeup, staged, theatric, didn't happen. All the stuff you hear the left saying about Butler. President Trump's assassination attempt, where I have to constantly remind them about Corey Comparator, the fire chief, the retired fire chief who was murdered, who took the bullet, who was bleeding out. My condolences to his family. And we had the first responder, the guy that was sitting on the dais there with them, who applied pressure, who came on this show and told us that story. Are we supposed to believe that every last person is a quote-unquote crisis actor? I mean, I can't play that game. I have to respect people. I have to give people the benefit of the doubt. Even when I see people in the media, like Matthew Dowd, like Katie Tur, like these people that are trying to spin things as if there's only one way they can happen. So even TMZ, they said something, that some people laughed, they made an apology. I say good for them. Am I wrong? Am I being naive? I don't know. We'll talk about that. We're going to get into the media response to all of this stuff when we return with Dan Schneider from the MRC.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations. I had somebody. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
He probably made like thousands of trans kids kill themselves. I literally could not give a they can get a stepfather.
Do you support his death?
I do.
You support his death?
Charlie Kirk.
You support Charlie Kirk being killed?
Yes, I do.
On the day he died, you're here at a vigil for Charlie Kirk and you support his death.
Do you support a Nazi?
No, I don't support a Nazi. Charlie Kirk wasn't a Nazi. You support his shooter?
Yep, sure do. Freedom.
You support Charlie Kirk's shooter?
Sure do. He did us all a favor.
Would you shoot somebody like Charlie Kirk?
I would have killed him myself.
So in light of this beautiful news, I would like to propose that we turn Charlie Kirk into a verb. For example, I think that Stephen Miller needs to be kirked.
I will always celebrate the demise of people that happily dehumanize disenfranchised communities. And if that makes me a bad person, well then, I'm a bad little boy. Hey Siri, play Livin' La Vida Loca.
We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Goes up neck. We got Charlie in the neck.
That's disgusting. Let's put that down. And let me tell you, this is disgusting. That was part of a montage. These people are sick. And again, full disclosure, I grinned and had a sense of joy and patriotism when I heard that Osama bin Laden had been killed by President Obama. But I feel that that's different than this. And I understand that the left are our adversaries politically and they're, dare I say, our enemies. But this seems so wrong. Yet there's so many people partaking in this. And I think some are doing it for clout. Some are doing it because they're senseless. And some are doing it because the media has normalized dehumanizing and attacking people that you don't agree with. They have called Trump Hitler. They've called him a dictator. They've called him an autocrat. They've, supported him going to jail. They've treated him like no other person, honestly, I've seen treated in the last whatever amount of years I've been alive as an adult paying attention to the media, at least 20. And it's sad to me, but I want to get the opinion and the reaction of people that do this for a living, right? Now, I talk about things for a living, but they study the media for a living. Dan Schneider is the vice president of free speech at MRC, the Media Research Center. Dan Schneider, welcome, sir.
Hey, Rich. Usually I'm happy to be on your show, but, two terrible things that we're now talking about, but and the media, is just, it's the media, the rhetoric the media has been using about conservatives, about Republicans, about people who support Trump. The media has been driving this assassination culture. The media and radical academics on campuses, Antifa, these so-called anti-fascist fascists, and it's their rhetoric where they have dehumanized and demonized people who simply disagree with their radical views. That is given license and permission to their ilk, their radicals, to kill people. Rich, I'm a bit older than you are. We used to go through this little exercise when I was a kid. Would you kill Hitler in the grave if you knew what he was going to become? Well, that game has turned into something real, where people now feel like they can kill their political opponents.
Dan Schneider, this became very evident to me. And honestly, this is the first time. I can't remember. I know history, right? I know that there were Puerto Rican separatists that, wanted to secede from the United States, and they went to Congress and they shot a congressman and they bombed people and they killed people, and the Weather Underground and that all. But that all happened before my time. And it was 1954. So you read about it, you hear about it, but I was never alive to witness that. But I was alive for Luigi Mangione, this young guy that kills a healthcare executive, and somehow he's like a hero. And I feel like, at least as of late, this is the not only the normalization of this type of carnage, but kind of celebrating it. Your thoughts?
Well, look, for the last 24 hours, we've heard plenty of people talk about how the leadership of the Democrat Party has been fanning the flames on this rhetoric. Mm-hmm. I want to give sort of the other side of this, some hope. We've seen how...
Hold your thought. I don't want to interrupt you, but the music means we got to pause. So you're going to give us hope when we come back. Folks, we're coming right back with Dan Schneider, Vice President of the Free Speech Project at MRC, the Media Research Center, mrc.org. Check them out. And don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss the hope that's coming out of this, because I know I want to hear all about it with Dan Schneider. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdes.
So glad to be on your show, Rich. It's just an amazing broadcast that I hope the rest of America listens to every day.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
I don't know whether it's political violence because I don't know who did it. I know they seem to have somebody in custody. But I will say that political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence occur in other states. And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era of political violence. And the president, what did he do? He pardoned them. I mean, what kind of signal does that send to people who want to perpetrate political violence? Not a good one.
That, of course, is Governor J.B. Pritzker, the very svelte young man from... Wait, hold on, that's not him. That's the big guy from Chicago, from the governor of Illinois, and talking about how it's Trump and it's MAGA and only one side can be responsible for this stuff. Really, really very interesting to see how the media is spinning this. Dan Schneider from MRC Free Speech is with us tonight, Vice President over there. And Dan Schneider, you were leaving us with a message of hope, and then I want to get your thoughts on how the left is trying to spin this. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, look, Rich, we have seen a 4.5 million person swing in registrations from Democrats to Republicans in just the last year. The reason for that swing, of course, I mean, it's obvious why. Donald Trump, leading the Republican Party, has picked the issues where 80% of Americans agree. And the Democrats, every single time, take the bait and take the 20% view on everything. And then the media, what does the media do? They label Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk and Rich Valdes as the people who hold the controversial views. You know, the views that believe that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Those are the controversial views. But the media claims that the left, that those are the normal views. Because regular Americans, let's just say traditional Democrats, are seeing that their party has been hijacked by radicals, they are leaving the Democrat Party. I'll give you just a couple obvious examples of people who have left the Democrat Party. Donald Trump, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. These people used to be Democrats, and they were pro-America Democrats, and there's no room for them in the Democrat Party today. So here's my hope that as regular, normal people who believe that murder and political assassination in particular is heinous, that as they see their party leadership either praising the murder and assassination of Charlie Kirk, or at least defending their side and trying to attack Donald Trump for fomenting violence, we're going to see more and more people saying no more to this radicalized leadership that has hijacked the Democrat Party.
Yeah, that's
There's
really
hope.
well put. Yeah, I think you're right. That is hopeful because there's no way we can continue the other way, right? I can't imagine people actually signing on to this, right? I think it just, the math doesn't make sense to me. You've got a lot of people that support Trump because, like you said, he's picked up a lot of issues that make sense to many people. And this, I think, to most people doesn't make sense. And I have the benefit of having two young kids, 20 and 24. So I'm able to check in with them and just say, hey, what are your friends talking about? And they tell me. And, they were saying most of the friends were like, the guy was an instigator. Is what they were describing about Charlie Kirk, that he was an instigator. He went around looking for problems, but nobody should deserve to die because they troll people on college campuses. I thought that was a very, poor characterization of it. But lo and behold, people still have some semblance of compassion. And I think that's key.
Yeah. And as we see the people celebrating his death, as we see legacy media, the Katie Turs of the world, the New York Times, headline calling him a provocateur, Wikipedia saying that Charlie Kirk was a white nationalist. Wikipedia, of course, is the worst. It's been taken over by the most radical elements of the radical left to push this radical agenda. And they try to smear everybody they possibly can. And, calling Charlie a white nationalist. He clearly loved America, but he was a person who did not care what your skin color was. He just wanted people to be decent and honorable. And if you're going to be an American, then love America and support our laws and our values.
I agree with that. Folks, we're on with Dan Schneider, VP of the Free Speech over at MRC, the Media Research Center. And, the work that you guys do, it's so important, right? I can't scroll through social media without seeing something from Newsbusters, without seeing something from MRC, because you guys have your finger on the pulse and you crank out so much good information that I think most people need to hear about. Talk to me about some of the takeaways you guys have had in the last couple of days.
Well, let me go a step deeper. I could give you the studies that show that ABC had 100% positive coverage for Kamala Harris, 100% negative coverage for Donald Trump before their debate, that kind of stuff. But, we also carefully monitor the Federal Communications Commission, and Brendan Carr is the chairman.
Yeah.
And Chairman Carr, with the huge assist from President Trump, they've been pushing these broadcasters, saying, ABC, NBC, CBS, you are using the public airwaves for free. And the law requires you then, because you're getting this giant public benefit at the expense of the taxpayers, the law requires that you meet the public interest test, that you have to be serving all the public, not just the liberals, not just the wacko left-wing activists, but all Americans. So when we see, the crazy late-night talk show people getting fired, or when we see Matt Dowd, how fast did it take MSNBC to fire Matt Dowd?
Yeah.
A
first
few
I was
nanoseconds.
like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? Are they trying to protect their profits? And then I remembered, you know what? They're just trying to stay on the air.
It's MSNBC is a cable company, so it doesn't have to comply with the FCC rules, but it is owned by
Comcast.
the new Skydance, Paramount, CBS.
Oh, right, they're sold.
Or NBC. So, all of these broadcasters are now having to be very careful, because we finally have somebody at the FCC who's going to enforce the law. And we have a president who's going to see to it. So, and this will be an ultimate benefit to ABC, NBC, and CBS, because instead of their focus on an ever shrinking radical left-wing market, they can start trying to communicate with the rest of the world.
Yeah, look at CNN. They've picked up Scott Jennings, and I feel like a lot more people are watching. At least I get a lot of audio from there.
Yeah, these media outlets, they for a long time, they haven't cared about their bottom lines. They've just been political activist organizations. And at some point, they actually have to start operating like businesses and see if they can turn a profit again. But to do that, they have to stop treating 60% of Americans as pariahs.
100% right. Now, Dan Schneider, for everybody who wants to know about the work you're doing with free speech at MRC, where do they go? What do you want them to do?
Well, the Media Research Center, the main website is just mrc.org. I'm on the free speech side, where we battle big tech censorship and government censorship. So that is mrcfreespeechamerica.org. But then, of course, our main publication is newsbusters.org. You can find all of our stuff at Newsbusters.
Outstanding. Well, I check them out daily. I follow the work that you guys are putting out, and the team there. You guys do an excellent job. Nobody does it like you do, and I'm grateful for the work that you do, and grateful that you spent some time with us staying up late tonight. Dan Schneider from MRC. Godspeed to you, sir.
You too, Rich. You too.
You bet. And amigos, we continue with the rest of our conversation tonight. What are your thoughts? Is the media doing this right? What do you think about TMZ? Right? They issued an apology. MSNBC also issued an apology, and they fired this guy, Matthew Dowd. We played those clips for you yesterday. But I want to hear your thoughts. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdes with an S.
After the guest leaves every night and we're doing open phones, you're kind of at the heartbeat of America. And you sit there in this radio studio and suddenly you hear voices. Mobile, Dallas, New York, Miami. And there's kind of a conglomeration of America all in one room.
That terrible morning 24 years ago, time itself stood still. The laughter of school children fell silent. The rush of our traffic came to an absolute halt. And for 2,977 innocent souls and their families, the entire world came crashing down so suddenly.
So So suddenly the world came crashing down 9/11/2001, 24 years ago. That's President Trump at the Pentagon earlier today, commemorating those events. And I want to get your thoughts, your calls, your reactions. Of course, the phone number 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdes. And I want to go to the phones. Where do I go? Let me see. We start over here with... we're going to start with the first one in line. Gil. Gil is calling us from San Antonio, Texas, but he's known as the Gilla from Manila. Go right ahead, Gil.
I had a cousin who worked at Cantor Fitzgerald in the North Tower. He was killed.
They were all killed.
Yes, but
658 people that worked for Cantor Fitzgerald died because they had no access to the stairwell. The only one that survived were the ones who weren't there, like Secretary Lutnick, Howard Lutnick. He lost his own brother that day. So my condolences to you for losing your cousin and to him for losing his brother, and so many families that lost their loved ones at Cantor Fitzgerald, and, of course, in the overall tragedy. Go ahead, Gil. I'm sorry.
Well, we don't have the same last name, so I won't be revealing anything. But his name was Joshua Piver, Piver. If you put that name in your search engine, you'll see that his side of the family got all the good looks. So he was a...
You came out looking like the Santa who does stand-up, and he came out looking like a stud. Well, hey, some guys have all the luck, right? Gil, thank you for your call. Always good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're doing well. Let us continue. I want to go to Manassas, Virginia, check in with our buddy John. John is calling us from WMAL. John, go right ahead.
Thanks for calling for taking my call. I spend a lot of time meeting people. I meet new people all the time. I'm in a financial advisor, so I'm always meeting people in the professions. And I'm finding that basically there's such a closed-mindedness on the left, people who are living in a vacuum, and they don't want to know the truth, and they just simply, the old saying, "Come, let us sit and reason," like Charlie wanted to do, right? Come talk to me. Let's talk this out. Let's discuss this. That's not there. It's just not there in most of these people, especially the young ones. It's scary because that leads to destruction. When you have absolutely no openness, you just have hatred. You just have this tunnel you're in by yourself. That's what's happening with the left. Is they're just so in this vacuum that they're not open to even the compassion of a human being being murdered.
No, you're right. They have no sensibility, and this is not an attack on them. This is exactly what they're supposed to do. And right now we're seeing it on the left because of the horrific actions that we've seen. But this can happen anywhere, right? The idea is divide and conquer. And I've seen it because I don't live in a bubble. I know people who hate Jews, who are at least claim to be conservative sympathizers, right? They love Putin, and they claim to hate everything else. And this is a thing. It's a movement of people that they exist to blame everything they can on the Jews. They exist to blame everything on someone. And when you start blaming, you are the left, right? I mean, that's their MO, but you might reside on the right. And I've seen this over the years, and it's always, to me, been very minimal, right? We usually don't take those people very seriously. Most of you who listen to this program probably don't even know who I'm talking about, because most of the people you see are sensible people. But there are people like that. And that's why I say it's not exclusive to the left, and it's not that it exists on the right. It's that these are the tactics of the Marxist, and that they use them wherever they can to sow division, and they're based on grievance. If they can get you to be upset, they've won. That's just how it is. And like you said, you shut down debate. Once you've shut down debate, you say, who cares? What are you going to talk about? They're all the same. It's Crook A or Crook B, the red team or the blue team, but they're all, two wings, left wing, right wing, same bird, right? The minute that you fall into this uniparty thing, really this is just apathy, right? I'm not saying the uniparty doesn't exist, but I'm saying the minute that you write off everything and there is no more alternative, that's it. Then you start to come up with your own alternatives. And that's where they want you. They want you in a place like Charlie Kirk said. I mean, he said it best. He said that when the discussion ends, that's when violence happens. That's when you get civil war. He couldn't have been more right. And we need to take heed to his warning and make sure we don't fall into that trap. John in Manassas, Virginia, thanks for the call. WMAL in the building. Coming right back. The rest of your calls, don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, let's go to Lanham, Maryland. WMAL. Check in with John. John, go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdes.
Yeah, I just want to first send out my love and prayers to the Kirk family, and his wife and his two little girls. But I would talk about 9/11. I was actually working for a printing company at the time, and we did a magazine on it, and there was a story in there that stays in my mind because of all the hatred for the Jews now. There was a man who was big, heavy-set man and a little Jewish guy that coming down the steps, and the man couldn't make it any further down, and the fire department said, "Well, stay there, we'll come back and get you." But and the guy told the little Jewish guy, he said, "Go ahead, you go on." And he said, "No." He said, "I'll stay right here with you until they come back." And of course, they never made it back, and both of them perished. So that always stuck in my mind. And then the other thing was I was telling you, call taker, that when the girl reminds me so much of my wife, who I lost in 2003, because my wife was real modest. And this girl and her, I guess it was her coworker or whatever, they jumped off the top of the building, because you know how many of them did. And as she was jumping, she held her hand in front of her dress so her dress wouldn't fly up as she jumped to her death. And but she was modest until the bitter end.
John, those were such unfortunate moments. I remember I interviewed New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani about that, and he said he'd pulled up to that location with then Commissioner Carrick, God rest his soul, and he said, "What's all this debris falling?" And he said, "Mr. Mayor, that's not debris. Those are people who'd rather not burn." Such a sad time. John, thanks for your call. Joe, Chris, Bill, William, Tony, more to come straight ahead. Keep it locked right here. Amigos, Rich Valdes, we're just getting started. Don't go anywhere.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Welcome to the Thursday night edition of the program. This is, I think, the third hour. I don't know how to count anymore. Anyway, it's 7 minutes past the top of the hour. Happy to be here with you, and I want to welcome you to our program. If you're just joining us, give me a call, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES, and we're talking about 9/11. It's the 24th anniversary of the terrorist attacks of September 11th that hit New York, that hit Pennsylvania, that hit the Pentagon. And, of course, we're still dealing with the aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I have to say it that way because I have to remind myself that this is not a bad dream. And we're living this. We're living in a time where a young man that did his thing, didn't go to college because he felt like it wasn't good for him, taught himself a bunch of things, read the right books, listened to the right people, in my opinion, started an organization to affect the lives of young people and did so at a grand scale. And you have to tip your hat to a guy like this. 31 years old. I met him when he was still in his 20s, late 20s. And I mean, the stuff he was pulling off was remarkable. The scale that he did. I mean, just very few people can organize at that level. And he did an amazing job. So when you keep hearing people say he was destined to become a president, likely, because, you know, politics is about influencing the balance of power. That's the end goal. But there's two things that go into politics, right? There's two forms of currency. One, your ability to raise money, and B, your ability to reach and assemble people. If you can reach the people, you've got power. If you can assemble the people, you've got power. If you can get those people to give you money, or you can bring money to the table somehow, you've got power. Then the game is about balancing that power, getting the power from whoever has it. And he was great at it. He had a knack for it. It was a God-given gift. And he didn't do it for the sake of the power, which is, I guess, why he was so effective at it. He did it because he enjoyed the work, I think. He seemed genuinely joyous. And he had a penchant and a passion for seeing young people educated. And it was evident in how both friend and foe would line up to hear this guy do his thing. Congratulations to Charlie Kirk. Of course, I mean, can't congratulate him now, but he's worthy of the congratulations. He did an amazing job. And, of course, this is why the left puts a target on you when you are effective, right? Lots of people can do this or can do that, but he was doing a lot on many levels. Turning Point Action, the political arm of things. He was never shy about his faith, bringing more and more people to faith in Christ, while teaching them about conservative principles, fighting what he called radical Islamism, and trying to preserve Western civilization. I mean, not bad for a day's work, right? God bless him. And, of course, El Trompito doing the same thing in a political movement, the Make America Great Again movement, and becoming a president, a non-politician running for office, becoming a president, going through, I would say, arguably, for sure, the largest political persecution I've seen in my lifetime, and surviving it, only to come back after, you know, the shenanigans in 2020 to win again, and big. I say kudos to El Trompito as well, because that's what America needed, that American grit, and people got behind that movement because they saw themselves in it. That was the only reason why. People believed. And it's not that Trump's a good con man. It's that Trump knows how to speak the language of the people. Despite him being a billionaire, he's plugged in. And I credit that with him being just a genuine person, a real dude, right? I can't say, who are some of the famous billionaires today? You got Bill Gates, you've got Bezos. I don't see Bezos and Bill Gates doing rap videos, running beauty pageants, TV shows. I remember watching The Apprentice once, and Trump pulled up, and he's like, I need a ride. I got to get there fast. Get me Mario. And who comes up? Mario Andretti. I mean, it was amazing. He pulls up in like a Formula One racing car, and he gets in the back. He puts on a helmet. They peel out. They're driving all over New York City. I mean, it was great television. It was so much fun. And again, this is to me the marketing genius, the creativity being harnessed of President Trump. So anyway, I bring all of that to say it's 9/11. I want to get your thoughts, your calls, your reactions, your opinions on 9/11. I want to continue, discussing all the developments with Charlie Kirk. Of course, the FBI and the Utah SBI State Bureau of Investigations had held a press conference about an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half by now, and indicating they have a person of interest. They have now determined that how he escaped. They should have video footage, ring cameras, all sorts of video. There's video cameras from every angle of how he got to the wooded field where he ditched the gun, how he got the gun onto the campus, sneaking it into his pants, walking with a limp because he couldn't bend his pant leg. They've got the whole thing. I just saw another video, and like I said, it always happens on Twitter before it comes out. It could be misinformation, which is something that the commissioner warned about, but I saw yesterday a video of a guy arguing with Charlie Kirk, yelling at him with a bullhorn, and now there's some people suggesting that guy with the bullhorn in a previous debate with Charlie Kirk fits the description of the person that the FBI are looking for. So, again, I don't know if that's the case, but lots of interesting footage. The shooter jumping off of the roof onto a grassy area, making his way across the street from the school into that wooded area where he dumped the gun. And I would suspect that they're getting closer and closer to closing in on this guy. So that's the latest on that. There's a report of Eric Adams potentially pulling out of the race in New York City for mayor. I have a clip on that from NBC News. Listen to this one.
Questions swirl about whether Mayor Adams will drop out of the race. We may have new insight into his thinking. News 4's government affairs reporter Melissa Russo has new details tonight about a closed-door roundtable with community leaders. 3 people who were in the room say Mayor Adams implied he might consider dropping out if it was best for the city.
When asked about this, the mayor's campaign told me that Adams has not made a decision to drop out, but that he does plan to conduct his own poll to make a decision. According to 3 people inside that meeting of the Association for a Better New York Steering Committee today, the mayor said he would continue to watch polls. They say Adams implied if his poll numbers do not move, he'd put the best interests of the city first, saying he loves the city more than he dislikes Cuomo. Mayor Adams' campaign spokesman, Todd Shapiro, said the mayor clearly indicated he'll be spending resources to get his message out and then look at his own unbiased poll to make a decision. Nothing, he said, should give any indication he's abandoned the race. He remains fully committed to doing his job and serving the people of the city. The mayor's message a bit mixed as he acknowledges he has a decision to make.
So, again, that is the latest on Mayor Adams. I can't see Mayor Adams staying in the race, but again, maybe. If he gets out of the race, he's got to start paying money back on his campaign. So that's the main reason a lot of people aren't bailing out. It makes more sense for them to stay in, and that's great. See it through to the end. I think that creates the best opportunity for Curtis Sliwa to go right in. It creates the most contrast. You've got 3 candidates, 3, Mamdani, Cuomo, Adams. All 3 happy to defund the police. All 3 support no cash bail. All 3 support sanctuary city. This sounds like a slam dunk to me. All 3 of them are the mirror image of AOC. Speaking of AOC, AOC was on Capitol Hill today arguing about gun control on cue, as expected. The left would be arguing about gun control today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Plus, AI. What do you do if you find out that you wrote a book and all of a sudden the stuff from your book or the stuff from your business is now being used by artificial intelligence and you're getting ripped off? Do you have a copyright case? Well, this actually happened, and we're going to get to the bottom of it because this company, which is an AI company, they just had to pay out $1.5 billion to settle a copyright infringement lawsuit filed by a group of authors who alleged that this AI platform illegally used printed copies of their books to train large AI language models, according to the documents in the court filing. We're going to talk to the patent professor himself. John Rizvi is coming up with us. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Look at Rich Valdes. He's now a radio host, and he's a great radio host.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
So there is a new filing in the class action lawsuit against Anthropic. They are going to pay $1.5 billion to settle a copyright case that was brought by authors who said that the AI startup downloaded millions of pirated books. Now, the company had faced the risk of more than $1 trillion in damages if they didn't settle. A San Francisco judge does still need to approve the deal. Anthropic's deputy general counsel telling me in a statement that this case established a key legal precedent, saying that in June, the district court issued a landmark ruling on AI development and copyright law, finding that Anthropic's approach to training AI models constitute fair use. Now, that is a big win for the AI industry.
So that's how they got into this, but they ended up making this settlement anyway. So I'm going to get to the bottom of this with somebody who knows exactly what's going on. Our guest, John Rizvi. He's known as the patent professor, adjunct professor of patent law at Nova Southeastern Law School. We've had him on before. He's the author of several books on patents. You can find out more about him at thepatentprofessor.com. John Rizvi, welcome back.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So talk to me about this case here, this Anthropic case. This company seems to be growing faster than anybody's economy. It's multiplying in valuation, and the lawsuit alleges that they're stealing other people's work and getting rich off of it. Help us understand.
Okay, so essentially it's a lawsuit based on copyright infringement, and copyright law gives creators the exclusive right to control how their original work is used. And what Anthropic has done is taken that original work and used it to train their AI model. Now, the judge did hold that the training of the AI model using copyrighted works itself is okay. That's fair use. The problem is how Anthropic got access to these works. They didn't purchase rights to them or license rights to them. They actually got pirated copies of the books downloaded from well-known, pirate websites. One is Library Genesis and then Pirate Library Mirror. And that's where they got into hot water, is they're using pirated versions of these books, and a huge amount, approximately 500,000 books were downloaded and used to train their model, and that's why this proposed settlement of $1.5 billion is the largest, if approved by the judge, would be the largest copyright settlement in U.S. history.
Wow. So the settlement that they put out for $1.5 billion, did that happen already, or is there another one pending?
So, because this is a class action lawsuit, and the law allows when you have a large number of potential plaintiffs, in this case, possibly 500,000 plaintiffs, wow. Instead of bogging down the court system with 500,000 different lawsuits, all essentially claiming the same thing, they form a class, and it's a class action lawsuit.
Sure.
Now, if they settle, if the parties agree to settle, unlike a lot of lawsuits, that's not enough. Usually, if the parties agree to settle, the courts don't get involved. With class action lawsuits, the settlement has to be approved by the judge, and that's to make sure that the actual plaintiffs benefit. There's a lot of reasons for the judge to approve it, because otherwise, what sometimes would happen is that the lawyers would be the only ones benefiting from the settlement, and ultimately the plaintiffs would get very little after the legal fees are paid. So the judge gets involved, and it's called a fairness hearing to determine if the settlement's approved. The settlement was, the fairness hearing took place a couple days ago. It was not approved, and there's going to be a follow-up on September 15th. The judge wants a verified list of all of the pirated books, and he has a list of other things that he wants done before he will approve the settlement. So the settlement's been agreed to by the parties and just not approved by the judge yet.
Court. Got it. Makes a lot
Exactly.
of sense. Now, John Rizvi, the patent professor, if people want to learn more about the work that you're doing with patent law and everything else that you're covering, Where do you send them? Where do they go?
Yes, so I'm known as the Patent Professor, and in fact, that's the name of my law firm, and that's our handle on all social media: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and in fact, our website is thepatentprofessor.com.
Outstanding. Well, I want to thank you for bringing us up to speed on this case. I see that NBC News is reporting that, like you said, the parties have agreed to pay at least $1.5 billion. But now we have to wait to see what happens. So maybe we'll have you back once we get a update from the judge. Folks, John Rizvi, the Patent Professor, thepatentprofessor.com is the website. Follow him on socials. And, sir, thanks for being with us again.
Of course. Thank you.
You bet. And, amigos, straight ahead, your thoughts, your calls, your reactions on this stuff. Is it piracy? I think it is. If they take your book and they put it into AI models, should you get a $1.5 billion? I think so. I mean, I don't know how they come up with these numbers, but I think if they steal your stuff, you got to get paid. I also think that we've got developments that may be happening with the New York City mayoral race. I want your thoughts on that. Your thoughts on the continued aftermath, the fallout and the mourning of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and, of course, new developments with this potentially trans shooter. They're calling trans Tifa, I believe. And no identity just yet. Excuse me. And the latest with regard to the big story of the day, 9/11. Your stories, your thoughts, your commemorations when we return. Our phone number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES. If you want to join us on our late-night national town hall conversation, we'll be getting to your calls immediately on the other side of this pause. Like the great Chuck Woolery would say, we'll be back in 3 and 3. I'm Rich Valdes, coming right back.
Now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S.
24 years ago, we suffered. In the years since, we have endured. Our service and sacrifice have forged our character, and today we stand in hope for the future of our great nation. The young soldiers who take the oath give me hope. The young cops who wear the badge give me hope. The young firefighters who answer the call give me hope. The young agents who patrol our border give me hope. The life, example, and even death of Christ follower and American patriot Charlie Kirk give me hope. Sheer courage, no matter the arena. Charlie, we love you. We know that you have heard the Lord's words. Well done, good and faithful servant. Full heart, clear eyes. Like those on 9/11, he will never be forgotten. So I thank God for all of you and all of our fighters from that day to today and beyond. May God bless our warriors as they ruthlessly seek our enemies on behalf of the fellow citizens they love. We owe you and all of those who witnessed 9/11 nothing less.
That, of course, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth making remarks on the 24th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, also commemorating the death by assassination of Charlie Kirk just yesterday. And again, it's been almost a quarter of a century that's passed since the September 11th, 2001 attacks. But for most people, emotions are still as raw today as they ever have been. A, for Charlie Kirk, and B, because it's hard to think of 9/11 and really get over it if you live through it. And I want to know what you guys have to say about that, right? These were big attacks in New York, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, at the Pentagon. And everybody remembers where they were. If they were alive, they remember. Some of you who weren't alive, then you probably don't have the same type of perspective. But something Curtis Sliwa mentioned, we need to preserve that history. I think President Trump has also mentioned the same thing. We need to preserve that history so that future generations know exactly what happened in New York City, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and in Washington, D.C. on 9/11/2001. So with that said, I want to go to the phones. I want to get your thoughts, your calls, your opinions, and everything else on this particular topic. Let me see here. Let's go to Chicago. I want to check in with William. He's on WLS. William, go right ahead.
Hey, good evening, Rich. I just wanted to say, first of all, you're becoming a huge star in Chicago. Everyone loves you that lives in the nighttime world. All right, you're welcome. Anyway, on 9/11, that day, I had forgotten my wallet at home. Obviously, I was a little distressed. And, I went to the store to get my sandwich and soda like I normally do. And this nice lady behind me said, "I'll pay for it." What an act of kindness,
Right. Very nice.
Just there's good people in the world.
I remember, William, the immediate aftermath of 9/11, and I've never seen it again. And sadly, but it was a beautiful thing. And some people were saying, where was President Bush? But I'll tell you, he pulled that off. Just the same way President Trump was at Yankee Stadium tonight. President Bush was there back in 2001. And I got to tell you, they had this big interfaith thing, and a lot of people had mixed reviews about it. But after it happened, people were the utmost kindest I'd ever seen them be in my life. Just like what you're talking about. People were helping old ladies across the street again. People were helping. Everybody was helping somebody with something. And it was just love on the streets of New York City. And I loved it. It was great. It was great to see us come together rather than be separate. And it was because you had every leader, or at least I should say our elected officials were behaving like leaders. They were the president, the mayor, the outgoing mayor, the incoming mayor, right? It was Mike Bloomberg coming in, Rudy Giuliani going out, George Pataki was in office. And everyone was really working in concert. They were all Republicans, by the way, but they were all working in concert to bring about this unity. And it was a nice time. It wasn't just a media concoction. It was something I witnessed and experienced myself. And most New Yorkers who were there can attest to that. But sadly, today, we don't have that. And this is not a fault on anybody in office today. It's just, it's where we are. And if I had to put fault on somebody, it would likely be on the media because of how divisive the rhetoric is. I've got to say, President Trump's rhetoric has been very conciliatory, very unifying. And I'm grateful for that because Lord knows we need it, William. Thanks for your call, brother. I appreciate your kind words. Very nice of you to say that. And thank you and everybody that is listening in Chicago. I appreciate it. Big shout out to everybody at WLS. Great station. And I'm happy to be on with you guys. I'm happy to be on lots of stations. KUMA, WLAD, WMAL, KDKA, WHIZ, WVMT. Just some of the ones that I'm looking at right now on the screen where we have calls from. We're going to continue with your calls. I want to go to, let me see, let's go to Gainesville, Virginia, WMAL. Checking in with Chris. Chris, what's going on? You're on with Rich Valdes.
Hi, Rich. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I'll briefly share with you my memories of 9/11, and then I want to say something about Charlie Kirk. I got a call from my father on September 8th that my mother was about to pass away. I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. She had ALS, and so I flew up on the 8th And I was with her on September 9th, and then she passed away the morning of September 10th. And had she not passed away on the 10th, I was supposed to fly home on the morning of September 11th. So I ended up spending the week in New York making funeral arrangements for my mother. And
during
was,
that crazy time, huh?
Yes, it was tough to make funeral arrangements around that because they'd closed the bridges. People couldn't fly in. So we had to postpone the funeral for at least 1 or 2 days. And she was buried on the 14th, was a Friday, and that's the day the airspace opened. And I remember the service after hers was Peter Yancey, who was the fire chief of New York City, who lived in Farmingdale with us. And his was the next funeral, and that was attended by the governor and the mayor. So it was a crazy time to bury someone up in the New York, Farmingdale, New York area. And I do want to just mention Charlie Kirk. Of course, he was a great guy. I wish he had more security around him. If he had just had that bulletproof glass that Trump had for his outdoor rallies, things would be different. It disturbs me greatly to hear that now who's next? Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is my Charlie Kirk. I mean, I really look up to him. He takes so much flack, and I just hope that he now, after Trump, after Kirk, I hope Mr. Miller has presidential level security around him because he's going to need it.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that he does, being that he's deputy chief of staff in the White House. He's usually in the same orbit as Trump, and that's likely the safest place any of us could be. But you're right, that comment, and I just want to let the audience know, we're talking about a comment that somebody made where they said, I want to turn getting kirked into a verb, and the next person to be kirked should be Stephen Miller. This is some troll on the internet saying this. Absolutely vile, disgusting comment. But you're right. It's absolutely horrible to hear that. And it's a shame that everybody needs to be more secure, more secure. Listen, I get it. Franklin talked about trading liberty for security, and that's never lost on me either. And Charlie Kirk was a real hero for this stuff. You know, he had balls of steel, in my opinion. Everything he said, he lived up to. Everything. You talk about his position on faith. We got a clip of that. Let me see if we could pull that up real quick. It's 15 seconds, but he really encapsulates it really well. Mr. Good, let me know if you find it. It's a short Charlie Kirk 15-second cut, number 7. And this is just 2 months ago, where he says, if somebody's on a podcast and somebody asks them, how do you want to be remembered? And he says, if I die, like very incredulously. And the guy says, yeah, if everything goes away. Listen to this.
How do you want to be remembered? I mean, if I die, everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
And that's a longer cut, but that's a short clip. And, I think it really goes to show that the guy lived what he said. Some people today were trying to take shots at him online, saying, he made comments about, look, sometimes, people are going to die in their defense of the Second Amendment. That's just how it's going to be, unfortunately. And he lived by everything that he preached. And I can't help but just respect the guy for living his life that way. So, again, condolences to him and his family. But, Chris, you're right. He really is a class act, and all of us need to be a little bit more careful, lamentably. All right, Chris, I guess we lost you. Thanks for your call, brother. Shout out to you and everybody in WMAL land. And I'm going to take a pause right here, and we're going to come back with the rest of your calls. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S.
You always cover the best out there, and you cover it honestly, because you are the best out there.
America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S.
We continue the late night national town hall conversation with you, we the people. Let's go to Bill, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, KDKA. Bill, go right ahead.
Hello, Rich. Hey, actually, I turned the station on. It's been an hour or two ago, probably more. But I thought Curtis was still on the radio. Anyways, I wanted to wish. I told the screener I wanted to wish Curtis all the luck in the world. I do. I mean, and I said Pittsburgh. Well, we're 15, 20 minutes from Pittsburgh. I can't vote for a mayor in Pittsburgh, but we have problems here, believe me, and I think I know why. I know why. He's a liberal.
That's usually a telltale sign, Bill. When you get a liberal, they usually tend to break things. I wish I could say, there's the liberals that don't do so good, and then the ones that. But it seems like it's almost a guaranteed problem. You get a liberal in office, and you're going to have problems. You're going to have financial problems. You're going to have crime problems almost immediately. It's amazing. They all follow the same playbook, and that it just doesn't work for most people. Nobody wants to live in crime. Nobody wants to live in a city that's in disrepair. Bill, thank you for your kind words to Curtis. I'm sure he appreciates them. KDKA in the building. We continue. Let us go to Michael. Michael's calling us from Pendleton, Oregon. KUMA, great station on the West Coast. Michael, go right ahead.
Rich, great to talk to you. We have our Pendleton Roundup going on this week. I got back from some activities, and I wanted to phone you. I wasn't able to get in last night. But, so much tragic news. The two words that come to mind, Rich, senseless violence.
Senseless
Charlie
violence.
Kirk.
Well put.
And Charlie Kirk, what happened, of course, today, 24 years ago, on 9/11, once again, senseless violence. And, of course, my girlfriend's in the Ukraine, and my prayers are with the poor, beautiful young woman that was senselessly killed in Charlotte. And the commentators, I listen to some other talk shows too, and Jimmy Fallon, of course, the former taxi driver, has a great show from New York City.
I've had him on the show. He's really good.
He is like you, Rich. You're the top of my list, along with Billy Cunningham. But
a great American.
We can't settle. Yes, and you're a great American, Rich. And we can't settle our differences with violence. I mean, the Democrats, I respect them. I wish them well. I just don't agree with them. I support President Trump's agenda, and he has the right ideas for America, the right direction, and I completely support him, like you do, Rich. And but violence is never the answer, and we need to settle our differences peacefully, respectfully. But
without a question. And Michael, what's interesting, I just want to jump in here because President Trump, I think, has been exemplary in that area. Right. He's been the guy that's like, look, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. We don't want problems. When he uses military intervention, it's a strike. He's not looking for any prolonged war. He truly, truly is the peace president, the president for peace. He deserves every accolade, including the Nobel Prize in that regard, because putting all these wars down is no small feat. And hopefully he'll have some success with this last couple of lingering wars. But, really well put. Good point. I got to take a pause here, so I got to jump out of the segment. But thank you, David. I appreciate it. Michael, David's coming up next. Pendleton, Oregon. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, let's go to the phones. If you disagree, you move to the front of the line. Let's go to David, San Francisco, California, KSFO. David, keep it classy. Go right ahead.
Oh, thanks, Rich. I wanted to talk about 9/11 as a crime as opposed to human sacrifice. And, we as Christians in America shouldn't be into human sacrifice. The Charlie Kirk incident shouldn't be seen as a human sacrifice. 9/11 should have been looked at as a crime. The gold in the basement was a big target, and FBI agent Frederick Whitehurst wrote about that regarding both incidents in 1993 and 2001, that it was looked at as an attempt to steal gold out of the World Trade Center's basement, which was the International Monetary Fund's reserve.
Well, David, for the sake of time, I'm going to say I don't disagree. I think that we did look at it as a crime. We probably could have done more on that front. But there was definitely a crime there, and there definitely was terrorism. So I think that's why these guys were mainly held, as enemy combatants in Guantanamo Bay. But you're right. We should look at the rest of it because there was definitely more to that story. Paul, Zanesville, Ohio, WHIZ. Go right ahead quickly.
Yes, sir. It's always a bittersweet day for me because tomorrow, Rich, I turn 61 years old.
Look at you. Happy birthday, brother. God bless.
Thank you, man. Yeah, September 11th, it will be in my memory forever. I was laying in bed watching it. I didn't have to work because it was my birthday. And I knew that was an attack right away. My father was a private pilot, and I knew that there were restrictions on the air and so forth. But anyway, I just wanted to ask you a question, Rich. How much of this, what happened to Charlie Kirk is just horrible. How much of this do you think is Trump-driven, Trump derangement? I mean, who's going to be our next Republican? Is it going to be they just hate Republicans?
If it were Paul from Zanesville, it would be Paul from Zanesville derangement syndrome. They do hate Trump because he was one of them. He was a darling of the media. He was a Democrat. They thought that they had him, and then they lost him, and they hate that. But this isn't about Trump. This is about they hate me. They hate you. They hate Jesus. They hate what we stand for as people in America. They hate the founding of this country. And as long as they hate us, the left, they're going to do what they do. Paul in Zanesville, thanks for the call. Shout out to WHIZ. Shout out to WVMT, WTMA, WLAD. Hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. God bless you, America.